Hello and welcome back. In this episode we're going to have a go at making a gargoyle for the dungeon, so the kind of thing that you can see here. And as always you can find a link to the PDF file down in the description, so let's make a start. Okay, the first thing we'll need to do is take this texture here, and we're going to be gluing that to a piece of 5mm thick foam core. And we're also going to glue some of the plain stone texture to the back, so that when we cut it out, we end up with something that's textured on both sides. Next, we'll cut out a strip of the stone texture that's 5mm wide, i.e. the same thickness as the foam core, and we're going to apply some glue to the back of this piece, and wrap that around the exposed edges, so that when we're done, we end up with something that looks like this. Okay, next we're going to take this texture here, and this time we'll glue that to a piece of 3mm thick foam core, and once again we'll cut that out, take a thin strip of the stone pattern, and wrap that around the edge, so that we end up with this kind of thing. Then we'll just need to apply some glue to the bottom of the larger piece, and we're going to be sticking that on top of the smaller piece, so that the shorter edge is flush with the narrower end. It's difficult to explain, but if you've done it right, the back edge should form a kind of right angle when viewed from the side. Anyway, next we'll need to cut out both of the leg patterns, and we'll go ahead and apply some glue to the back of one of these, and the idea here is to glue the foot along the edge of the smaller piece, making sure that it's flush with the bottom of that piece and the back of the larger piece as well. Again, it's difficult to explain, but this is the kind of thing that I mean. Anyway, I'll quickly do the same thing again for the other side, and if I just squash the sides together, this is what it should look like at this stage. Okay then, next we'll glue the arm texture to some thin card, and when it's dry, we can cut that to size. And this next part is optional, but I like to bend the top of the arms around a toothpick, just to make them look a bit more rounded. It's probably not showing up very well on the camera, but there you go. Then, to fix it into place, we'll put a small blob of hot glue on the back of the hands, and stick that to the front of the feet, leaving a small gap at the bottom. So, something like that. Then we'll bend out one of the arms, and put another spot of glue in the shoulder area, and glue that to the corner of the large foam core piece, kind of twisting it slightly, so that it's stuck on at a 45-degree angle. And we can then do the same thing for the other arm. And with any luck, that should result in something like this. So, the basic torso, complete with arms and legs. Right then, for the head, we'll take this texture here, and a regular drinking straw. I'm actually using a paper one here, and while we can leave a bit of paper on the top and the bottom of the texture, we will need to cut away a bit from either side, so that when we glue it around the straw, like you can see me doing here, it joins nicely around the back. And that should result in something like this. Okay then, when it's dry, we'll then need to squash the straw nice and flat, right down the centre, straight down the nose as it were, and then we can cut the top of the head exactly to size, but when cutting the bottom, we're going to try and cut it along the jawline. Then we'll just need to unsquash that, and I'm just using the end of a mechanical pencil for this. And there you go, that's the main part of the head. Okay, next we'll glue some of the plain stone pattern to a piece of thin card, and then we can take a hole punch and punch out a small circle, like so. Then we can add some hot glue to the inside of the straw, and stick the little circle on top. So, there you go. Now we have a head to go along with the body. And if I bring that body back in, we can then glue the head into place, positioning it so that the chin is slightly forward of the shoulders. And that should result in this kind of thing. So yeah, now our little gargoyle is starting to take shape. Okay, for this final part, we're going to glue the wings and the tail to some thin card, and we're also going to glue the plain stone pattern to the back, so that, once again, we end up with pieces that are textured on both sides. Next, I like to take a piece of the same foam core that I used for the body, and kind of fold the wings around that, so that, when I glue it to the gargoyle, they'll already be in the right sort of shape. Rather than trying to do this on the piece that we've just made and risk squashing something. And as well as that, I also like to bend the ends of the wings around a toothpick, though the cardboard I'm using here isn't very good quality and it is starting to peel apart when doing this, so just be aware that this can be an issue. Anyway, this is the kind of shape that I'm aiming for. Okay, now we'll just need to add a spot of hot glue to the upper slope of the gargoyle's back and stick the wings into place. So, there you go, this kind of thing. However, I do want the wings to be wrapped closely around my own gargoyles, so I'm also going to put a spot of glue on the inside and then press the wing into that. And I'll quickly do the same thing on the other side. So this is the kind of thing that I'm aiming for, the kind of classic gargoyle pose. Right then, for the tail, I like to wrap both ends around a toothpick or barbecue skewer and form it into a basic S shape, like you can see here. And to glue it into place, I like to use a spot of super glue. So here I am dabbing the wider end of the tail into the glue, and sticking that into the area where the two pieces of foam core have been glued together. So, something like this. And to make it a bit more sturdy, I'm also going to add a bit of super glue to the very edge of the wing piece, and glue the curved part of the tail to that, which should result in this kind of thing. So, not looking too bad. Now, if you want to add some ears to the piece, then we'll take another small circle, like we made for the top of the head, but this time we're going to cut it into 4 quarters. And then I like to give them a slight curve by rolling them around a toothpick, though it is a bit hard to see exactly what I'm doing here, so there's a graphic at the bottom of the screen that hopefully explains it a bit better. Anyway, to glue them into place, I find it's easiest to dab the end of a toothpick into some PVA, and then dab that to the side of the head where the ear should go, and then place the ear on top of that with the other end of the toothpick. And once again, here's a graphic to show it a bit better. And once that's done, here's the finished gargoyle. And all that's left to do now is stick it to a plinth, or the top of a column, or whatever, and it should be good to go. So here's a picture of some of them in action, so to speak, and as you can see, mine have been stuck on top of a decorative plinth, and I'll probably cover how I made these in a bonus video in the next week or two. But that's it for another episode, so thank you very much for watching and sticking around until the end, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.